The Hearthstone segment for BlizzCon has just concluded, so I'm going to quickly recap what you guys missed in case you were not watching the Twitch stream, because we have an all-new keyword, new legendary cards, and even a brand new legendary card that'll be reaching our collection at the end of today. Before we get into the new cards, if you guys aren't already subscribed, feel free to subscribe to this channel and to like this video if you want to see more content just like this. So let's go ahead and jump into the new keyword, Frenzy. Frenzy essentially triggers whenever you damage a minion for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the new card that was released with this keyword. It's a 4-mana 1/6 legendary neutral minion. Rush and Frenzy deal damage equal to this minion's attack to all enemy minions. So essentially, since this minion has Rush, you can immediately attack it into a board, and then its Frenzy ability will trigger. So I'm not sure if this will happen if your opponent attacks it first. We might be able to get some more information about this, but from what I'm assuming, it's just literally whenever this minion takes damage. So this might be really interesting if there's like more hand buff mechanics. Maybe this will be a really cool AoE card available to Warrior or available to Paladin. But from what I'm assuming, the Frenzy keyword has a lot of different ways of being utilized, and actually might be the reason why Enrage got cut off the chopping block, to be honest. But regardless, I think this keyword has a ton of potential. Next, let's jump into the card that'll be in all of our collections here pretty soon. If you guys remembered Vol'jin, then you'll be pretty happy about this. But we got a new legendary minion that's hitting our collection soon, Shadowhunter Vol'jin. A 5-mana 3/6 battlecry minion. Choose a minion, swap it with a random one in its owner's hand. So this is going to be some pretty weird disruption, to say the least, and we were literally talking about interactivity being something that Hearthstone was lacking, so maybe some of us got our wish with this card. But regardless, this is looking like a dirty rat, essentially, that's being reprinted into the meta, but only as a legendary minion. But again, interactivity, always something I'm a big fan of, so this card may actually invite some kind of meta change before we actually get the core set and the new expansion. So I'm actually really looking forward to this card and its applications to the meta. Next up, we have 3 new dragons. That's right, 3 new dragons, and they're all new takes on dragons that you already know. So the first one that I'm going to show you guys is Ysera the Dreamer. A 9-mana 4/12 dragon. Battlecry, add each of the dream cards to your hand. Every single dream card is going to be in your hand, so if you're looking for one for specific lethal, it's extremely easy. You need a 0-mana Nightmare immediately on the board when you have a minion that can hit face. You got that easy. You need to be able to get an AoE for next turn in order to maybe deal some lethal damage, or you just need some minions. You have plenty of different ways of being able to utilize this card. So this is probably going to be common in a deck that either doesn't really want to fill up its hand too much and just wants to get these kind of resources. So I'm assuming that Nightmare is going to be the most popular card to pull from this. But regardless, it's way too soon to talk about the power level of these cards because we have no idea what's going to be hitting the meta with the new expansion. But regardless, I think this dragon is going to see a lot of play if dream cards are highly sought after. Next up is another 9-mana dragon. It's Malygos the Spellweaver. Like I said, these are all familiar takes on dragons you already know. It's a 9-mana 4/12 draw spells until your hand is full. So mage decks. Yeah, mage decks are going to look pretty interesting in the future. Maybe there's a druid strategy that wants to be able to utilize this for some kind of like APM combo, but you know, well, ramping up as a druid, that actually has a little bit of power to it now that I'm like really thinking ahead to what could happen. But regardless, we really can't speak to the strengths of these cards until we get everything announced in the core set and with the new update and the expansion. But drawing specifically spells and just tutoring out, you know, something as easy as like, you know, burn damage could be a very easy way that this card could see play. So I think that this card could potentially break the meta if spell decks are the best in Hearthstone. Last and certainly not least is a new Deathwing card. A 10-mana 12/12 battlecry, Deathwing the Destroyer. Destroy all other minions and discard a card for each destroyed. So essentially, this is like, you know, it's obviously better than the other Deathwing in case, you know, disregarding your whole hand isn't exactly what you want to do. But with this card, you actually have a reason to destroy the entire board and then maybe not throw out your entire hand. Maybe if you just need to get rid of one card and just, you know, put up a minion that your opponent can't deal with. This is a great way of doing it. It's also better than the 8-mana Deathwing because you don't have to sacrifice its HP value immediately in order to get the value of destroying minions. So I think that this is going to be amazing in any control deck that's looking for any kind of late game pressure and late game removal. And the last cards that were revealed to us were nature spells. Essentially, they're upgradable spells that are very, very reminiscent of the spellstones that we saw back in Kobolds versus Catacombs. But we really haven't seen too many reveals from these. We just saw this one spell along with this one upgraded version of it. So apparently it upgrades whenever you have 5 mana. It originally deals 2 damage to a minion and a random adjacent one. But then when you upgrade it, it deals 4 damage to a random minion and an adjacent one. So this is looking like a pretty interesting way of giving spells more than just one way of being utilized. I always like versatility in Hearthstone. It's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of the corrupt mechanic, because you can either choose to play it without the corrupt value or for the corrupt value. This is very reminiscent of that mechanic as well, and like I said, to the spellstones of Kobolds versus Catacombs. But I'll be interested to see what other classes are going to utilize cards like this, because for this specific one, I'm not really too confident in its ability to perform well. Again, we need to figure out what the core set is before we can really justify the power level of these cards, but I'm really excited to see what the other applications of this mechanic are in the other classes. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching this video. That is everything that was from the BlizzCon announcement that involved Hearthstone, at least for the time being. Once there's any other updates, I will be sure to make a video highlighting that specific information for you. So until then, enjoy getting your Vol'jins and switching out cards in your opponent's hand. And we'll see you for the next video.